Hey you, thanks for joining me. So I have been thinking a lot about AI. I've been kind of planning some other videos that are kind of AI related, but I also cannot stop thinking about The Substance since I watched it, and my brain started to make some connections between the two. So this video is just me sharing some of that, some of my thoughts and reflections on AI and how they can kind of be reflected in The Substance. I by no means think this is the true meaning because the director writer is very obvious about what she intended the movie to be, what the kind of messaging in the movie was. She's very upfront about that. So I am just adding my own meaning to this, by no means meaning to undermine the great message that she already has in the movie, but just to add another take. So if you're watching this video, I am assuming that you have already seen The Substance. If you have not, go do that first, or at least read the screenplay, I guess. You can find that online. I'll try and link where I found it, and get at least a feel of what the movie is without seeing the gore, if that's really something that you don't think you could handle. So basically, I started to really create a metaphor in my head, starting with Monstro Lisa Sue, however you want to say it, who was, for me, like seeing her, I was like, this just in my head works as how I picture the mess of AI trained on AI, like how it just glitches out and gets really friggin' weird. I just think that that really embodies it really well. And then if we go based on that, then go to Sue being the AI and Elizabeth being us as humans. Sue needs to stabilize with input from Elizabeth, just like how AI needs to stabilize with input from us. So that's the metaphor that we're going to be working with today. So The Substance is touted as a way to have a better version of ourselves. Younger, more vivacious, high energy, in accordance with the ad that is looking for Elizabeth Sparkle's replacement, or regards to what The Substance video is talking about. It's younger, more beautiful, more perfect. And it doesn't really leave room for like, well, what about like the internal stuff, right? Because you can't, it also does talk about how you cannot escape from yourself, that the you that is not the external is not going to be touched on at all with this substance. And with AI, we are also being kind of told that it's this more efficient, easy to use, low cost, increased output technology. And although like we're being told that this is so much better, there's compromises. We make these compromises all the time with like other technologies as well. So for example, with fast fashion, we are compromising things like workers' rights and actual good quality materials and environmental sustainability. We're compromising all of those things for the fast fashion. And that's something that like with efficiency, even with AI, like we are, yes, getting answers far quicker, but there is a higher cost in terms of energy for these systems to actually give us these answers. We don't feel that on our end, but there is compromise there. And then there's also the compromise of like taking away bits of that journey of creating things. I love the choice of The Substance as the movie title because it can have several meanings, mainly being either quantifiable as like a drug or literally just like a thing containing features of being a material, or non-quantifiable. So basically the essence of something, or the main part of something, or the importance. So if we think about substance in that way, basically what is the essence of who we are and what is the essence of what AI is doing, and how AI summaries for like emails and internet posts and articles, like they're trying to get to the essence of what is written. But I feel like it's so superficial, right? It's like, oh, we're cutting stuff down, we're giving you just the meat and potatoes of it. But I think there's something to the essence if we really think about like the substance of what something is. Sometimes there is stuff in all those extra words. Sometimes there is stuff in all the extra things we're seeing, right? Like if you listen to me versus watching me, there's different messages that we're getting. I don't know, there's so much that I think has gotten me like really thinking about the word substance and what the substance of who I am is, the substance of who we are is. Just stuff to think about. So currently we are living at a time where AI is spread across the internet like a disease. It's being pushed aggressively as something for us all to use and to abuse and to just constantly rely on. But I think it's taking away the substance that the internet actually had. Like we aren't actually adding value with all this AI stuff. We're really just putting flashy junk everywhere and just littering the internet. The other thing I kind of want to think about is who is benefiting from AI or from us valuing just our looks, or treating women as objects, or talking about women like they have an expiry date as soon as they reach 50. Who's benefiting from this stuff? What are we actually asking AI to do? And are those things that we should be asking it to do? If we get to a point where kids don't see a point in learning, in doing difficult things because AI will do it all, maybe it's not the best thing. I mean, I know we have the same argument about like calculators and how like why do we need to learn how to do mental math when we can use calculators all the time? But I just feel like this is just a whole nother level of like, just I'm not going to be able to do anything. And that's fine because AI will do everything for me. Like, I just feel like that's just setting us up for being so malleable and manipulatable. And that's maybe what the end goal is. I don't want to sound too conspiratorial here, but like, who benefits from women feeling so much pressure to fit a certain mold? It's mostly people who have control, who want control. And with AI, I think there's a possibility that it's going to be a control thing. It's going to be like, how can we make people into these mind-numbed little minions? And I don't know. Time will tell. Hopefully not. One of my concerns is that with AI, there's people who will have some of their self-worth questioned because of it. And I think that's kind of a scary place to be just as a society. I know there's lots of things that question our self-worth all the time. But just this being on such a mass scale where it's like actually changing the job landscape, which for some people, like how you work and how you make money is such a strong part of their identity, that is a challenge that we are going to be facing / are already facing. In the movie, there's the scene in the cafe where Elizabeth interacts with the older man who had, in his younger iteration of himself, told her about the substance. And he says that it gets harder each time to remember that you deserve to exist, that this part of yourself is still worth something, that you still matter. And for me, this scene was really powerful. And I think that it really does ring true in terms of how some people are probably feeling with relation to AI. We can maybe start to feel less value if we don't see the value in what we have internally, that we do still matter and we do still have influences on the world, and that we do still have things that we can make differences with, even when, you know, the things that AI can do better than us are feeling like they're very front and center, or like looks very front and center. So the way that I view the other room in the movie is basically that it's a way of disconnecting from the discomfort and the pain of like realizing the difference between us and AI, and then also the ways that we kind of numb ourselves. So sometimes that is even with AI or with just garbage content, right? Like we kind of do things to numb ourselves away from thinking about these things, but it's still there. It's still in that other room. So on a more broad meta kind of way of looking at the movie and some connections with AI, I thought I would just talk a little bit about how the movie itself was made. So the movie itself was made with practical effects, which I think is so cool. And there's a great making of video that was put up on Mubi's YouTube. I would recommend checking that out if you kind of want to get a little bit more of a look at how they did things, or if you like just are really struggling with some of that body horror stuff. It kind of helps to see how they did the effects. But yeah, it was really cool to see the director talk about how she saw such value in like interacting with the objects and like having the actors actually wear the prosthetics and stuff like that so that they could feel like they were in that kind of a body. And like that's just stuff that like you don't get with AI generated videos and AI generated art, right? Like there's so much about the movie itself that just to me screams like this is so not AI, and I love it. I love how human it is. I love how you could tell that it was written by a woman just watching the movie. Like I had no idea who made the movie going into it, and I was like, oh yeah, for sure a woman wrote this. It had this like humanness. It had her vision, which is not the objective vision of what like I think a computer would come up with. And yeah, you could fiddle around with prompts, you could do like CGI things, but there's so much about how we can physically manipulate things that is so satisfying and so cool. She even talks about like this light tunnel that they have in the movie and how like they filmed that in person, and she's like, sure, I could do this digitally, but like it's just not going to be the same. It's like playing with the camera and like getting it just the way we want it. So I just thought it was so cool to talk about how AI is just not like, there's so many things that we can do with our human experience of like interacting with the world that AI just isn't going to be able to do. And that kind of gave me like, I don't know, it's just because I'm looking at it on this like AI conversation, I think it just helped me to appreciate the movie even more. In the movie, they talk about balance and how if you just follow the rules and respect the balance and switch every 7 days like you're supposed to, nothing would go wrong. And while I think that in a perfect world, sure, that could happen, and sure, we could maybe live a little bit longer by living our other selves that are in the substance, etc. I just don't think that people will ever respect the balance in that way. And there's always going to be people who do not respect the balance and kind of ruin it for everyone. And with AI, it's kind of concerning to me because we have a lot that's unknown and we have a lot of lack of regulation right now. And there's going to be a lot of manipulation and deception and people using AI to cheat and scam. And I wish I could believe that AI would be used only for good things. I just saw recently an article about how phishing emails are just going to get so much worse and that the email servers, they're just not going to be able to keep up with the like telltale signs of phishing. So that's great. That's just awesome. Lots of respect for the balance there. The purpose of this video is not to be a downer. The purpose of this video is to highlight some of the ways that I think tying our identity to any one thing at all for how we view our self-esteem, our self-worth is probably pretty dangerous, and is probably not going to benefit us in the long run in terms of how we view ourselves. But I also want to talk about how it's important to to think about the things that we value as people and think about the things that bring our lives meaning. And that can be tough. I don't even know what the essence of who I am is, to be honest. It's still a question that I am grappling with. I think a lot of us grapple with that question. But I think if we think about like the things that give us meaning, the things that feel like the things worth living for, I generally don't think AI has any place in that. I'm not gonna lie, I get really discouraged when I think about AI and what it's doing to the internet, how it feels like the internet was a slightly better place before we had AI. And not that it was perfect, but there is a benefit that I have noticed. That is, I appreciate human-made art so much more now than I think I did before AI. Like, I just didn't think as much about it. But now I'm like really more motivated to promote other humans making stuff. I'm really more motivated to show support for artists, and I'm more motivated in trying to build connections online and trying to, make these these videos and stuff. I want to keep a human aspect to the internet, and I think that there is a beauty to all of our own unique experiences and our insights, and we can ignore some of the crappy feelings that we're feeling right now and hope that they go away. But we can also choose to acknowledge what's going on and seek out the things that bring us joy, that bring us connection, that make us feel like we do have substance. And I think it's good to remember that there is a whole world of nature and there's a whole world of things just interacting with us and also ignoring us. And it's good to just get out and go for some walks and get in nature and see how the world revolves not around you but just with you. The world of all these computers and stuff it feels like it's such a big part of our lives, but there's still so much of the world that is just spinning and doing its thing. You may not relate to the struggles that the movie illustrates in regards to looks and the pressures that women have in regards to their bodies and their age. You may not relate to those things, but you can still appreciate, I hope, that that is something that people are going through. And very similarly, you can appreciate that even if you are not struggling with your identity at this time because of AI, I think it's good to be aware of the fact that other people likely are going to be dealing with this and that we can hopefully try to enhance other people's lives by showing them appreciation, reminding people that they are not only the data that they can put into a computer, they are not only their ability to make a certain thing. There's a lot of areas that they add value to our lives that are not quantifiable and that are not just dependent on output and efficiency. If you're still here, thank you so much for joining me, and truthfully, take care of yourself. I'm not gonna blow a kiss. I really debated doing like a take care of yourself to just try to like close this out, and I can't. But take care of yourself.